Hi everyone, and welcome to the Stitch Sessions, and welcome to another brand new month. For those of you that are following along with our Shall We Crochet series, you know what that means. It means our project this month is our next installment, and it is everything to do with shawls and shawl shapes. So if you are new here, welcome. I'm Karen, and I love all things to do with crochet and crafting with crochet. And at the top of every month, we work on a project related to our series. Every year I run a crochet series, which is a different project every month. And this year's theme is shawls and all kinds of shawl shapes. So for the month of August, we are creating the Seaside Shawl, which I think this has quickly become one of my favorites of all the shawls. I know I say that often, but this one really was just such a delight to work on. So it is a return to the rectangular shape for our shawl. So if you remember the first shawl we did in January, the snowflake shawl, that was a rectangular shape, but it was more of a shawlette. It was a little bit shorter. This one is a nice long length. It's beautiful. It's done with a very a lightweight number 3 yarn, and it feels so light and yet so cozy at the same time. So this is beautiful for a beach walk. If there's a little bit of wind out, it's just fantastic. So I think you are just going to love working on this shawl this month. So without further ado, I'm going to take you through the materials you're going to need to start working on this shawl, and then you are off and running creating your very own Seaside shawl. So let's get to it.
Okay, so let's get started. Here are the materials that you're going to need for this project. The yarn I'm using is Baby Love, and this is such a pretty yarn. I plan on doing this on a bit of a gradient, so I've got 3 different colors, and I don't know where I put my other ball, but each of these come in a 120 gram ball or 360 meters. So I'm going to do it, like I said, on a bit of a gradient. So I've got this color here, which is aqua teal, and then I'm going to move into this one, which is baby mint, and then I have another one that is somewhere where I can't find it. That's going to be white. So it's going to be kind of like this seaside-y type of colorway. So that is the yarn. It is considered a lightweight number 3, and the hook size they're recommending is a 4. And in fact, that is the hook that I will be using. And a size 4 is also known as a G or a 6, okay? And as always, make sure you have a handy pair of scissors and a darning needle on hand to sew in your ends. Now, we are going to be working this shawl crossways. So the shawl, the length will go like this. Okay, again, my artistry skills are not the greatest, but we are going to work it from the short side and then continue to build up our shawl until we get the length that we would like. So for me, and then for you, this is the decision you want to make. You just want to be clear as to how wide you would like your shawl to be. Like if you just want it to sit barely around your shoulders, then you can make it not so wide, almost like you could get away with it being like a super scarf as well. So there's that option. I'm going to make mine just slightly wider, which I think you can still use it as a nice big bulky scarf for winter, but still be light and breezy for a beautiful summertime shawl. So I'm going to do mine with a width of 24 inches. Okay. And for those of you on the metric system, that comes out to 61 centimeters. So to begin our project, we just want to make sure that we do our initial chain row that's going to give us a length of 61. Now, once you get comfortable with the stitch, it's actually up to you. If you want to work it lengthwise this way and work your way up, it's totally up to you, depending on the yarn you're using or the color choices you are making. So let's get started. So I'm going to be starting with my aqua teal color, and you just want to begin by placing a slip knot on your hook. Okay. And now what we want to do is we want to chain up the length of the or in my case, the width of my shawl. So I know I need to reach 24 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and do as many chains as I need until I get to 24 inches. Okay, and you'll notice that I'm not chaining too tightly, just keeping them nice and relaxed. I forgot to mention, guys, that what we want to do is make sure that your chain length is done in multiples of 4. So you're going to do the number of chains that you need to reach your width. So like I said, I'm going to do mine up to 24 inches and as closest to a multiple of 4 that I can. So that means however many chains you have at the end, it should be evenly divisible by 4. So go ahead and count up your chains and I'll meet up with you when you've gotten your desired length. Okay, so I have finished my chain length and I have the length that I need. And I have chained 128 chains, and that is evenly divisible by 4. Now, the multiple of 4 is important because that is the multiple we need to create the stitch pattern we're going to use for this project, which is the Crystal Waves stitch. So, once you have your chain, we are now going to begin to work our first row. Okay. So, once you've got the chain length that you desire, we're now going to chain an additional 3 stitches. So we have 1, 2, and 3. This chain 3 will count as a double crochet. Now what you want to do is into the 4th chain from your hook, you never count the loop on your hook, that's going to be this one right here. We're going to place 2 more double crochets into that stitch. So we have 1, and then we have a second double crochet into that stitch. So we have our chain 3 and then 2 more double crochets. Okay. What will happen next is we are going to skip the next 3 stitches. So we're going to skip 1, 2, and 3. And into the 4th chain, we're going to place 1 single crochet into that stitch. Okay, just like that. Now we're going to chain 3. And this is the part that sometimes people will make little adjustments to. Like I want mine to be a little bit lacier, so I'm doing the full chain 3. Some people will chain 2 only, and some even only chain 1. So this will be completely up to you depending on how you would like your stitches to sit. But I'm going to do the traditional chain 3. Now, back into this same stitch, we are going to place 3 double crochets. And those of you that know what it is to cluster 3 double crochets together, that would be our traditional shell stitch. Okay, so there's 1. There is 2. And then we're going to place 1 more. So essentially we're placing 4 stitches into 1. So we had our single crochet, we chained 3, and then we did 3 more double crochet stitches. So it's looking a little funny right now, but I promise you, you're on the right track. So as we continue on, we're going to repeat this pattern. You will always skip 3, 1, 2, 3 stitches into the 4th stitch. You will always insert your hook to place a single crochet, chain 3, and then 3 double crochets back into that same stitch. So it creates a very interesting shape, and it resembles little waves. That's probably why they call it the wave stitch. Okay, so there you go. There are your waves just sitting there right there. Okay, so you're going to repeat this all the way to the end. You're going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th stitch. So be careful because sometimes see how this one gets stretched out? that first stitch can get missed, and this is where your stitch count will go wrong if you miss that stitch. So really make sure you pay very close attention to that. So you skip 1, 2, and 3, and into the 4th stitch right here, you do your single crochet, chain 3, and 3 double crochets back into the same stitch. And this is what you're going to repeat all the way to the end of your row. Now, once you've established this first row, all subsequent rows will be much easier to find where to place your stitches. Okay, so see how that stretched out? This is the one that sometimes gets left behind, so just make sure you don't miss that. So your work will look like that. Okay, so I'm going to set you loose. Do that all the way to the end. Remember, you skip 3, single crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochets into the same stitch. Skip 3 into the 4th, do the same. So 3 is our magic number, and I'm going to meet back up with you when you have finished your last wave, and you're probably going to have about 4 stitches left, and I'll meet up with you at the very end. Okay, so I now have 4 stitches left, and my row is looking something like this. So now you can really see that beautiful little wave pattern. So I've got 4 stitches left. I just finished doing my 3 double crochets. So as usual, I'm going to skip 1, 2, 3, and into that 4th stitch, I'm simply going to place a single crochet. And I'm actually going to repeat this full stitch pattern. So I will chain 3 again, and then place 3 double crochets in at the very end, which some of you may think is counterintuitive. You would think that maybe we would just end with a single crochet, but no, we're finishing the full stitch. Okay, so we have our end of our row looks like this. Now we're going to move on to row 2, which is the way you're going to begin all rows from here on out. So you're going to chain 3, and you'll turn your work. Okay. So now once you turn your work, we're going to find the base of this stitch, which is right there. So the chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So we are going to place 2 more double crochets right into that stitch there. So the beginning of your row will always have 3 double crochets in essence. Okay, so chain 3 and 2 double crochets. Then what you're going to do is you're going to find the 3rd double crochet post. So the first one we already worked into there. So the 2nd, 3rd, and what you're going to do is you're going to work a front post single crochet. So you're going to insert your hook in behind the post there. So we are not going into the stitch. Okay, so you want to find that post and insert your hook, and then pull up a loop and do your single crochet. Then you're going to chain 3 like we did before. Now you're going to find your chain 3 space, which is this next one here, and you're going to insert 3 double crochets. So now it's going to be much easier to find where you need to place your stitches because we have spaces to work into. Okay, so that is looking like that. So it's going to give it a little bit more texture. You probably can't make it out just quite yet. So you're going to do the same thing. You find the 3rd post from right to left. So you're counting 1, 2, and 3 into that 3rd post of the double crochets. You're going to work a front post single crochet and chain 3. Then find your chain 3 space and work 3 double crochets. And that is basically your repeat. And you're going to continue to repeat this row to create your length, basically. So it's a really easy project. It's a great one to do in front of your favorite Netflix show. So now you can start seeing how it's creating this like ripply effect. Kind of looks like waves of the ocean. So one more time I'll do that. So now you want to find that third post, and you just insert around the post, single crochet, chain 3, and then into the chain space you're going to do 3 double crochets. Okay, so you're going to do that now all the way to the end of your row. Okay, and I will meet back up with you when you're ready to finish off row 2, and I'll take you through just to start off row 3 again, and then you're off to the races. Okay, so I've come up to the end of row 2, and I've just done my last cluster of 3 double crochet stitches. And so now at the end of every row, what you're going to do is you're just going to find that chain 3 space, and all you're going to do is you're going to single crochet into it. And that is how you finish off every row. So you can really see now that it's taking shape and the texture is really starting to show. I mean, as you work subsequent rows, once you kind of work up about 4 or 5 rows, it's really going to come through. So now to start a new row like we did last time, you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and you're going to turn your work. And this is what you're going to do every time you begin a new row. Then into the bottom of that stitch. So that right there is the base of our chain 3. Remember, our chain 3 will count as a double crochet, so we want to place 2 more double crochets into that stitch. So this should be a little more familiar to you now. Okay, and now we're just going to find again the third double crochet and do exactly what we've been doing. So front post, single crochet, chain 3, and then into your chain 3 space you're going to place 3 double crochets. So really easy. It's a 1 row repeat, and you are off to the races here. Okay, just like that. And you continue on. So the third post, single crochet, chain 3, and into the chain 3 you're going to place 3 double crochets, and you pretty much have the pattern on the go. So you can see this, whoops, from the other side as well, also gives a beautiful texture. So it is a reversible pattern, and by us using the chain 3s, it just gives the fabric a little bit more breathability. And like I said, I wanted mine to be a little bit more on the lacier side. And by the way, if you want to increase kind of the laciness, a simple fix for that is you can actually go up a hook size. So again, I'm using a size 4mm hook. You can go up to a 5, a 5.5, even a 6 if you really want your stitches to be loose and lacy. But I'm pretty happy with my 4mm hook, so that's what I'm gonna do for rows and rows and rows now until I've created the length that I desire. So remember, I'm gonna do mine a little bit on a gradient here. So I'm starting with my teal. I'm gonna move on to my mint, and then on to my white. Okay, so go ahead and do as many rows as you need just before you get to the end of your yarn, and I will meet up with you when we're ready to integrate our next color. Okay, so I have completed 28 rows, and my work is looking something like this. So you can just see it just creates gorgeous texture, and it's got this beautiful flow of air that can go through there. So it just has that hint of laciness to it. Okay, so I've done 28 rows, and I know, because I tested it out, I've got enough yarn left over for another 3 rows. So this is how we're going to interlock the colors for this project. So I know that one ball, one skein gives me 31 rows for my shawl based on my gauge, okay? So I am going to now snip my yarn here. And tie off. Okay, and in the same spot, I'm going to introduce my next color, which is going to be my mint color. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my hook right where I normally would. That's that single crochet. That's normally where I would begin again. So I'm going to place my hook through there, and you'll notice I didn't place a slip knot on my hook. You can if you want to. Sometimes, most of the time I do. This time around, I'm just going to simply hook it through and then do my chain 3. 1, 2, and 3, just like that. You can weave that tail in later. Okay, and now I'm going to continue on as usual. I'm going to place 2 more double crochets back into that same stitch. So there's nothing new or different with the stitch, but I just wanted to go over with you guys how we did the color integration here. Okay, and then as usual, you find the 3rd double crochet and we front post single crochet there. Chain 3, and then you find that chain 3 space, and again you're going to place 3 double crochets back into that space. And so pretty straightforward. This is what you're going to do all the way down to the end. At this point, we are only going to do 1 row of this color because we're going to come back to our aqua color in a moment. So go ahead and finish that row with the mint color. In my case, I'm using mint. You may be using a different gradation of colors. And I'll just guide you through the next part. Okay, so I have finished 1 row of the mint color. So you can just see it's now starting to give that subtle hint of integration there, right? So I'm just going to snip my yarn off there. Now at this point, if you wanted to, you could carry it up, but I really want to make sure that these colors just stay pretty separate for the most part for now. So now I'm going to turn my work. And now I'm going to bring back the aqua color. So every time you integrate a new color, you want to integrate 1 row first of the new color. Then you're going to go back to the original color for 2 rows. Now remember I said I know full well now that 1 full skein gives me 31 rows. So in the first row, I just worked short of 3 rows. So I had 28 rows. I've got 1 color of the mint, and now I'm going to go back to 2 rows of the teal. Okay, so the system is going to be the same. You just want to find where you just snipped off there. Insert your hook and pull your new color, which is your original color, through. Whoops, got all these tails here. Let's get that out of the way. And you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and you start a whole new row all over again. Okay, so, oops, got all these tails in the way. So I'm going to leave you guys again to do your next 2 rows. At this point, I'm very confident that you know the stitch that we're working with here. Okay, so see how it's going to start to integrate there. So you're going to do 2 more rows of the original color, and I'll meet back up with you when we reintroduce the mint. Okay, so I have completed now 2 more rows of the teal. So if I just set it back a little bit, you can see now the mint is going to have a very subtle integration. So I've snipped my yarn, and make sure whenever you snip that you do turn over your work when you're introducing the new color. That way the texture of the stitches will stay consistent. So again, I'm just going to reintroduce my mint color, And now I'm going to do 2 rows of the mint. I now have enough, because I've done the calculations, I've got enough yarn of the aqua color to give me 1 more row. So that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to do 2 more rows of the mint this time. I'll snip my yarn and then I'll come in and do 1 row of the teal. From there, I will then be ready to kind of go full force, so to speak, with the mint as I've transitioned into the mint color. So I'm just going to meet up with you once you finish 2 rows of the mint color, 1 row of the teal, and then I'll talk about how many rows you need for your mint color. So I'll meet you back here shortly. Okay, so once you've done the color integration rows, your work will look something like this. So you can see we just start showing a hint of the mint green, and then we starts getting a bit thicker. So there's the 1 row, and then there's 2 rows. So now we're ready to kind of jump in and go full force with the mint green. Now, remember I said I know that I can get 31 rows out of 1 skein. Now, I've already used 3. So that leaves me with 28 rows. Now, we will have to leave 3 rows back in order to integrate into the next color. So that means that now, I'm going to turn my work, I'm going to attach my mint, and I'm only now going to work 25 rows. This will leave me with 3 rows remaining once I integrate my white yarn. Okay? So that's pretty much it when it comes to how you're going to change your colors, where and when. Now you can choose to kind of keep your color changes solid. I chose to integrate them in this manner, but I just think it makes it a little bit more interesting. Okay, so I've got my mint green, and now I'm going to begin my row as usual. And eventually I will get around to sewing in all my ends. Okay, so you know the stitch by now. You're now going to do your 25 rows of mint. Then you will integrate 1 row of your white, which is the next color we're going to use. Then you'll go back and put 2 rows of your mint color, and then 2 rows of the white, and 1 row of your mint, and then the rest will be in the white. So if you end up doing 4 different colors or 5 different colors, I mean, you can do as many as you want, but this is the way that we are integrating the colors. So it really kind of shows them melting. I like to use the word melting. It's like they're melting or merging into each other. So that is it. You are now off to the races. Pause the video. More than likely you'll press stop, maybe watch a couple of Netflix shows or something like that as you work on your project. And I will come back and meet up with you when we've got the final length complete. And here it is, the final Seaside shawl. Now, as you can see, what I did here is I ended up making sure that each end duplicated each other. So when I started with the teal, I moved on to the mint, and then we merged into the white. I then went back to the mint and then finished out with the white. And I did that so we could create a nice little easy border just with 2 rows of white on each end. And I just think it ended up looking so beautifully. This was really a lovely, lovely shawl to work on. The stitch was so easy and consistent. You didn't really have to count too much, and the texture is divine. And again, I attest a lot of it to the yarn that we used for this project. I'm so thrilled with how it came out. I hope that you enjoyed working on this. In total, I have 159 rows. And I felt that was just a perfect length. It makes for a great wrap around. I love the way this came out so much. I would make this into a baby blanket even. It's just so lovely. It's very light, but very cozy at the same time. And you can also see my young lady here, Miss Marisol, also demonstrating and modeling the Seaside shawl as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I really had a wonderful time working on this project. If you have any questions or comments about the tutorial, please make sure to leave it for me in the comment box down below. And as always, you know you can reach me directly at info@crochetcrafty.com, and make sure to visit me on the website crochetcrafty.com and sign up for my monthly newsletter. It's absolutely free, and you get a free written pattern gifted to you every month. And you know all of the good stuff. If you want to find more patterns, you can visit my Etsy shop at Crochet Crafty Canada. And come and say hi to me. I'm on the socials at Facebook and Instagram at The Stitch Sessions. And to those of you that have been giving a little extra support by sending a small donation with the thanks button, I so appreciate it. Thank you so very much. And those of you that continue to subscribe and like the videos, I really appreciate it as well. The thumbs up really lets me know the types of videos that you are enjoying seeing and the types of projects that you would like to continue seeing more of. So thank you so much for that. And I love it when you just comment and say hello. I so appreciate that as well. It's just so lovely to stay connected to all of my fellow crochet crafters. So I hope you enjoy this month working on your project. Please do share pictures of your shawl when you're done with it. I would love to see how your Seaside shawl comes out. So in the meantime, have an amazing day. Happy crocheting. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys in next week's session. Bye-bye.